One of the biggest mistakes that many martial arts practitioners miss out on, uh, one of the mistakes that they make, in other words, is to be one dimensional. So, teacher, what do you mean one dimensional? First of all, let me preface the following by saying this. Years ago, many years ago, decades ago, 100 years ago, and even thousands of years ago, in, let's say, for this conversation, in Asia, systems and styles of martial arts were created for the purpose of war, created for the protection of a village, a city, a nation against others or outsiders. And most of them were complete systems. In other words, they were systems that dealt with virtually every aspect of combat during those times. But fast forward to the 20th and the 21st century, the world changed. And it changed dramatically because of technology, advancement of human beings. We don't live in the ancient times anymore. We don't live in the 14th, 15th, 16th century anymore. We live in the days of firearms, weapons that are propelled by powder, if you will, missiles, machine guns, rockets, so forth. With that said, physical hand-to-hand combat is not the same as it relates to martial arts that people have been preserving for years from those old ancient systems. So, martial arts has pretty much been commercialized to a great degree, and people don't have the ability to fight in multi-dimensions anymore, hand-to-hand combat specifically. So they push only kicking or only punching or hand techniques or grappling only, sometimes intermingling some of those things, but they miss other things. So it's not that the old systems didn't have it, but it's not been perpetuated in today's society because of commercialism again. People do martial arts for entertainment, movies and so forth. They've sort of lost the art or their arts. Now me, I say when I started martial arts early on in my life, I studied more than one discipline. I was fortunate to have studied a Korean martial arts system, a Japanese martial arts system, and Chinese martial arts system, and then some. My mind has always been open to take from those systems that I have studied and synthesize those things that I have learned, taking the best that works for me and now my students, conceptually. So my saying has always been you should be able to fight from standing to the ground. Honestly, in today's world. But you have a lot of people who say, I'm a boxer. You have limited yourself if you can't kick. If you're a boxer and you want to call boxing a martial art. Or some people say, I'm a kicker. Then you have limited yourself. You have people who say that I'm a kickboxer, or I'm someone who studies Krav Maga, which is more closer to real fighting on some level. What I'm saying is this: you cannot be one-dimensional in the world in which we live, But people have become so comfortable with how they have developed themselves over the past several decades. And some of them won't change. It could be to their detriment. I know we're going to all get old. That's when we have to refine our systems and our styles even more to adapt to the new world that we're in, or the ever-changing world that we're in. For example, there are people that don't know how to fall, how to break fall, like from judo, jiu-jitsu, ukimi. I learned this as a child. How do you take a fall? Not necessarily to protect yourself 100%, but to minimize injury. Have you learned that in your style and or your system? And what's funny is that ego enters in a lot of times when you have these conversations with some of your fellow martial artists and stuff. They say, "Oh, we practice ukimi, we do that." Do you really? You have to practice falls regular, not every once in a while and say you know it. Okay? The same as your kicks. If you're capable of kicking, you have to practice your kicks over and over and over and over again. Your punches and your hand techniques, you have to practice them hundreds and thousands of times. Right? I only use those as an example to say this. You have to practice so much that those things that I just mentioned and then everything else in your syllabus should come naturally to you. Second nature. How many people are like that today in today's martial arts arena and or society where they practice that much? I know I have to go to job. I have 2 jobs. I have 3 jobs, a part-time job and a full-time job. I have a family. I have school and so on and so forth. We always have a reason for not doing what we should be doing. Yes, it's work. Yes, it's hard work in today's society. The only thing that's getting in our way is us. You know, if we train the way that we're supposed to, you'll never see fat martial artists. Honestly, if you train the way that you're supposed to, you'll never see overweight, obese martial artists. You won't. That lets you know when you see those individuals that someone is not putting that time in anymore and they've gotten comfortable. And because they have so many ticks in their belt, so many stripes in their belt, so many years under their belt, they feel like they've done enough. They won so many championships, world titles and state titles and so forth that they don't have to do it anymore, that what they did in yesteryears is enough. Is it really? I always say, and I have arthritis in my hips, I still train. I do. As much as lie within me, with all of the things that I deal with from day to day, I still train. My training is on a different level, but I still train. You never quit this thing because it is a way of life. And if you are a black belt, you should take heed to what I'm saying. Especially if you are a master or a grand master. Stop trying to live off your past and live off of your now. So that when you leave this earth, you are remembered for how you left this earth, not on how you have lived your life when you were in your earlier years alone. I'm just saying this to encourage you, to encourage your students to train. As my one friend always say, shut up and train. Thank you, Sensei Holly. Shut up and train. Stop complaining. When people look at you, they don't just look at what you've done in time past. They look at you now. How do you speak? When you say, I am a black belt, when you say, I am a master, I am a grandmaster, just your conversation speaks to that. And believe me, people will know as soon as you open your mouth and they look at you that you are what you say you are. Thank you.